Today, Elder Scrolls Online's newest expansion pack, Blackwood, has just been released, bringing with it a wealth of new content. We're damn excited to venture through the gates of Oblivion, but we're more excited that despite WoW's best efforts, ESO still can't be killed by the MMO giant. Now, we all know that WoW has left a graveyard of MMOs in its wake. Star Wars, The Matrix, and even the evil mouse, Disney's own popular MMO club Penguin, wasn't safe. Penguin emojis in the chat to pay respects. But ESO still refuses to die under all the pressure of WoW's somewhat shady tactics, and there's a couple that come to mind. Strap yourselves in, it's story time. In 2020, The Dark Heart of Skyrim was a story arc that spanned across the whole of the year, with each update giving more depth to the ESO story. Intrigue was high, because, it's Skyrim. For some, Skyrim was the game that got them into Elder Scrolls in the first place. Yeah, alright, Morrowind hipsters, we can't all be that cool. Players were gleefully along for the ride, wondering how this would all end. In the ESO event of the year, hell, in the event of ESO's whole life so far, ESO released the Markath DLC in November of 2020, bringing the Dark Hearts of Skyrim storyline to an explosive conclusion. It was finally here. So what did WoW do? Well, they just casually decided to release their next expansion, Shadowlands, a couple of weeks later. An expansion which completely overhauled their leveling system, by the way, making one of the most significant changes to WoW in 16 years. Blizzard had the whole of 2020 to release it, but they decided, nah, I'm out of town in October, November is good for me. If I draw your attention for a second to look at this graph, you can see the harm that did to ESO. The game was on a sharp incline into the stratosphere with the finale to their storyline, but Shadowlands directly intercepted the player base and caused a huge drop-off. ESO had started showing some real strength, but WoW saw this as an opportunity to put ESO under their gigantic boot another time. But you can't keep a good Elder Scrolls game down. ESO announced Blackwood in January, and the player base shot back up. In comparison to that, WoW's Shadowlands felt like more of the same, and a lot of players did check it out, but after the honeymoon phase for the game wore off, they headed back to ESO. WoW is really trying to do some damage to its rival, but with each hit, ESO comes back stronger. Oh, and WoW's leveling system overhaul we mentioned? Well, it seems that Blizzard has been looking at ZeniMax's homework, because it's got a striking similarity to ESO's. Coincidence? I think not. Let's go back in time for a moment. Back in October of 2016, ESO implemented the 1 Tamriel update. It was massive. Previously, you could only go through certain quests if you were the right level, but after this update, you could go wherever you wanted. No restrictions, just explore Tamriel however you see fit. In WoW, before the Shadowlands update, you didn't have this option. When a new expansion came out, you would need to grind through hours and hours of previous content to be able to get your character up to the level for the new stuff. With the Shadowlands update, they changed how their expansions worked, and once you were past level 10, you could just do any expansion you wanted, just like ESO had set a precedent for. You could say they shadowed ESO. That's why it's called Shadowlands. Anyway, to be fair to WoW and Blizzard, this might have been something they were thinking about for a while. This game is over 16 years old, and it's always good to modernize a game for your audience as playing habits changed. Announced way back in 2012, Elder Scrolls Online was to be the MMO version of the beloved Elder Scrolls series. From Arena to Skyrim, the thought of an MMO which connected every one of these games was incredible. Unfortunately, like most MMOs in their early life cycle, it was in fact pretty trash. Developed by ZeniMax Studios, reviews for the game were aggressively mediocre. The game simply didn't offer much in the way of an MMO or even as an RPG, and what it did offer was pretty broken or straight up boring. You might think that would be enough to kill it, especially under the oppressive shadow of WoW supremacy in the market, but that wasn't even the biggest issue with the game. Elder Scrolls Online required a WoW-style subscription service at its inception, and that was ridiculous. With WoW, that model made sense. It's absolutely massive and has years of content behind it, but the mess of a game that was early ESO offered nothing close to that. If it wasn't for the Elder Scrolls name behind it, it might have ended up in the MMO graveyard, just like every other game that tried to take on the Lich King. The fact that it didn't speaks to how truly popular the Elder Scrolls IP actually is. Despite its faults, there was always a sense of fans wanting ESO to be good. To survive, ESO needed to be different different to WoW, to give players unique reasons to play it as a preferential choice, and in 2015 it started to do just that. ZeniMax re-released the Elder Scrolls Online as ESO Tamriel Unlimited, scrapping the pay-to-play model and opting for a one-time purchase with an optional subscription. It was definitely a step in the right direction, as critics praised these changes, and over the following years, ESO decided to try and get out of WoW's shadow entirely and try to be its own thing. With the release of the 1 Tamriel update, they showed how different they wanted to be. 1 Tamriel really sparked an interest in players, as they could now engage in a truly different experience to WoW. An experience which rewarded casual players who just wanted to go wherever they wanted, but in a good way. Designing a game to be accessible was actually a smart decision, especially in comparison to WoW's very hardcore reputation. ZeniMax released smaller themed DLCs over the years until releasing the much larger Morrowind in 2017. This expansion was very well received and sent ESO on an upward trend, with each expansion making the game more and more popular. Elder Scrolls Online had finally got out of the way of trying to be WoW, and everyone loved them for it. WoW has quests given as text. ESO said they'll use dialogue. WoW has a mechanically enhanced gnome. ESO gives us a talking cat. ESO might have started off just like every other MMO pretender, living for scraps in WoW's shadow, but it was now becoming its own beast. Choosing to become its own unique MMO experience was the best thing ZeniMax could have done, and the 15 million copies sold as of March 2020 speaks for itself. It's like the cliche hero's journey stories TV and film tell us. Just be yourself. Maybe WoW shouldn't even be concerned with ESO's success. When ESO tried to be WoW, it failed. WoW should focus on the audience they do have. They earned it for a reason. It's still an incredible game. For instance, sometimes WoW just does things better. The gigantic raids, the story which has spanned over 16 years, the roaming PvP, and the massive community. It is genuinely a cultural phenomenon. But ESO appeals to a different group of people for different reasons. What someone might hate about WoW is what someone else loves in ESO. Sure, in WoW, players would rather meet up with a group of 40 people and go for a gigantic raid, but in Elder Scrolls, you can meet up with just a few friends of varying skill levels and all have a good time. WoW has its charming and cartoony look, whereas Elder Scrolls has always been a bit more mature and refined. WoW has... Let's do this! Leroy Dragons! But ESO has...
Have you heard of the High Elves? Ha!
It's like PC versus Mac, cat versus dog, me versus that badger who keeps ruining my freshly planted flowers. They each offer something different and can exist together, because no matter what underhanded tactics Blizzard decides to try, ESO is here to stay for quite some time. But what do you guys think? Are you going to stick to the plan and continue playing WoW, or does the sound of having an accessible experience jumping in with your friends sound good to you? As always, let us know in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys next time.